Hey all, here OS Reviews. As the true wireless bud market has matured, it's become increasingly competitive in terms of offering features at a lower price. So today we're taking a look at the newest Tribit Flybuds C1 Pro. It often goes on sale for around $85. It offers active noise cancellation, and perhaps more importantly, there is a custom EQ mode, and it's using a software that will create a series of sounds and then ask you questions like which one you prefer, as well as detect if there's any potential hearing loss, and it will try to bump up neighboring regions to compensate. The technology here is very similar to other models from One More, but good to see that this personalized EQ feature is becoming more common even among other competitors, bringing it over to their buds as well. Now, aside from having active noise cancellation, they also pack in an interesting side-mounted trigger button, which you can use to control things like playing and pausing your music, as opposed to being a touch control at the top. And the claim is by having a button on the side, it will apply less pressure because you aren't really pushing the buds further into your ears by tapping on them. The buds themselves will last for around 36 hours with the case, and they can get around 8 hours of continuous music listening. Inside of this orange and white box, we have just a quick user guide telling you how to set it up. Aside from the buds themselves, we can remove the bottom panel to uncover a few more selection of silicone tips to get a more snug fit, along with the standard USB Type-C cable for charging. Taking a closer look at the design, there is actually plenty to like here, although they aren't necessarily the most flashy or distinctive looking pair of buds, but there's a lot of nice touches here, including some aluminum metal accents for the hinge running across the entire band, and more importantly, the entire surface is treated in this layer of soft touch rubber, which is very grippy and super comfortable to hold. It doesn't really attract any fingerprints. There's just LED lights on the front to tell you the battery status, and then we have simply a Type-C port at the bottom there for charging. The case here notably doesn't have Qi wireless charging. Popping open the door here, it will automatically turn on and start to pair with your device, so it's also a very fast connection process. And in terms of the buds themselves, they're magnetically held into place, having a few metal accents which almost echoes the drivers or speakers on the inside, just make them look a little bit more distinctive. It's treated in the same soft touch rubber coating as the case, so it does feel quite cohesive, very grippy and comfortable. And then you can also tell the side mounted button there for controlling things like play pause, volume commands, and in practice, I have found this placement to be quite comfortable. Pretty typical shape, as well as the drivers here. The mesh, by the way, is made out of metal. Although it may not win any beauty awards necessarily, it still looks relatively clean. The most important part being that it is indeed comfortable when you're wearing it and not too heavy. It's a relatively simple app, but all the icons are oversized, easy to navigate. You can then tap to take a look at the battery percentage remaining on the left and right sides, as well as go through some of the ANC modes, including a transparent ambient mode, which lets in sound so you can hear what's going on without removing them from your ears. So it's pretty simple. You aren't able to necessarily control the intensity of the ANC, such as medium versus high, like some of the other adaptive buds which we've seen lately, but it still is easy enough to toggle. We'll talk about the efficacy later on. Other things that you can tweak, including the equalizer. There are over 24 presets which are built on in, including other variants which are designed for different genres like jazz, bass, treble, podcast, so on and so forth. They all have a slightly different sound curve to them, and you can further customize options here as well. Perhaps most importantly, under Personal Sound, that first tab, that is activating the custom EQ hearing test, which you can trigger just by adding on an additional profile, and then it will tell you to create a profile either for yourself or for a friend. Tap on Start Now, and it will play back again a series of sounds. If you're able to hear it, you'll say yes. If you aren't, you'll say no. Test will take about 2 to 3 minutes to complete. You have to be in a relatively quiet space, and afterwards it's going to create your own custom EQ signature. Especially if you don't have perfect hearing, it's going to be a more dramatic difference and just make things sound more full and filled with detail. But other features which potentially they could improve on and add in future software updates or generations might be, let's say, a low latency gaming mode, which admittedly is missing at the moment. And also these are using a relatively standard Bluetooth chip with Realtek. So it is supporting audio codecs like the usual SBC and AAC, but if you are an audiophile, do note that they aren't supporting LDAC, for example, nor aptX. Now moving into the audio quality and performance section, I would say luckily the Tribit C1 Pros also mostly deliver, in the sense that, again, with the custom EQ mode triggered, I found them to be a very lively experience, and they do pack quite a punch in terms of bass as well. I wouldn't say they're necessarily overpowering, but they are definitely present. At the same time, instrumentals and vocals in the mids and trebles still have plenty of room to shine and pack in sufficient detail with clarity, and outperforming many of its competition. Granted, if you are going to be super nitpicky and you are an audiophile, you're trying to stack them against even more premium buds, which do have LDAC certification, which may have technically higher resolution passing through using Bluetooth, then arguably on those you can still perhaps find a trace more detail. When it comes to the active noise cancellation part, I would say it's also above average, but the 90% rated efficacy might be a little bit on the higher side. For sure, things like lower engine sounds, lower frequencies like fan noises do get mostly suppressed, but like I said, there really isn't an adaptive mode, and things like speech as well as background chatter, which are a little higher in terms of frequency of the sound, can still leak through occasionally. So champions in ANC tech, including buds from Bose and Sony, still are the ones to beat in this area, but granted, these are doing quite well. Alright, so that is more or less it as far as our quick hands-on review of the new Tribit C1 Pros. And indeed, they are one of the most fully featured pairs of buds from this particular company. It's well built, offering custom EQ at an affordable price, combined with ANC and a side-mounted button, which is indeed really comfortable to press on. Plus, overall, the fit and finish, it all is super grippy and soft to touch, just feels like something more premium than the price here would imply. You can check out more details if you're interested in the links down below. For now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the Tribit C1 Pro.